Kawhi Leonard gets Davis in the air, finds Powell. 4 to shoot. Powell, three-pointer is good. Wow, that was leads the Lakers with 27. George, another turnover. That's his 4th of the night. And Russell gives it right back. Leonard drives. George there for him.
Here's Smith on the move. Smith drives in. Scoop, no. Tipped up in the air. Johnson's got it. It's blocked by Anunoby. And Hart saves it for Randall. Up ahead. Bounce. Back for Randall. Hammer jam.
Incredible defensive sequence by the Knicks.
This is Rafi Guzon, and you are tuned in to Nothing But That Sports Talk.
We are back with another episode of Nothing But That Sports Talk. I'm Rafi Guzon alongside a very special guest of mine who he's actually a journalist based in Los Angeles, California, named Mykell Mathieu. Welcome to the show.
Yeah, no, thank you, man. Thank you so much for having me. It's going to be a good time, so let's do it.
Yeah, I mean, I love the energy you put into your pre- and post games where you cover the Clippers and the Lakers, so let's just bring that same energy into the show.
Of course, man. I got everything I do. Shout out to my OGs, Rob Parker and Chris Broussard. They said the number one word you got to bring to everything you do is energy. So I make sure I bring a lot of it.
That's what I'm talking about. Now, let's get into it by talking about your journey towards reaching Joes of success, or in this case, your journey towards reaching your Joes of goals. How would it all start?
Yeah. So, man, it all started honestly as a kid, just being a big time fan and of football, basketball, baseball, and just like talking sports. You know, having an older brother really helped me because my older brother was a big sports fan, and my dad was a huge sports fan. So he kind of got me and my brother to it. But I think I like to talk it a lot more than like my brother did. And like a lot of like my uncle, you know, rest in peace for my Uncle Wes, he used to always, because I would look at the stat book so much, like how much did Nick Van Exel have tonight? What did Eddie Jones do? What did this player do at quarterback? Like my uncle would say, hey, Mykell, come and tell them like the stats and tell them about what the Lakers are doing and what, you know, this team is doing in football. And as a kid, I was able to do it. And, you know, us, we love sports and we love to talk about it. So I always told myself, hey, if I can't make it to be a pro, the second greatest thing to that was to be right next to the games I love. And that's talking it. So, you know, I went to college and graduated from Long Beach State as a journalism major, where I was able to learn a lot. But then I kind of took a step back from it and got into education. And did that for a few years, ran into a guy who's become a real close friend, and we were a part business partner, my guy Keith Goodnews, and he kind of like, hey, like, man, I know you used to do your thing at interning at KTLA and things like that, but have you ever thought about radio? And I never did think about radio. You know, like most people, they want to see their face on a TV screen and be seen and heard that way. And I was like, yeah, maybe I might try this radio thing. And he was starting his own independent radio network. And I joined the show called Courtside Radio. And through that show, I was able to truly find my voice to get me into recording, you know, more shows, doing shows with big time guests, and then getting into the full journalistic thing of it all. And that's covering the teams that's based here in LA. And you know, I can't do it without those who give me the opportunity, like Culver City newspaper was giving me the opportunity, the Sporting Tribune and Fatty TV, even hustling for myself through my work through the Good News Radio and then FI 360. All these people opened the doors for me so that I can go and cover these teams and get myself deeper and deeper into the sports journalism world.
And that's what it's all about. I mean, when I got out of college, which is LIU Brooklyn and Fordham University, by the way, I mean, I'm literally just been hustling and doing journalism myself independently. I mean, I'm not just doing episodes like I'm doing right now. I'm actually going out there and covering. I mean, I'm just coming off a big year in 2023 where I covered some Fordham University games. I covered Atlantic 10, the WNBA draft, and the WNBA finals matchup with the Liberty and the Aces at the Barclays. Even this pro-am league called Nike Pro City and my alma mater, LIU Brooklyn, along with some other basketball-related events, happened at other colleges too, but that's besides the points. This is how you have to make it. I mean, once you talk to the right people and get into the right networking and do networking the right way, you actually get those connections and get those opportunities.
Yeah, this game is really about man, just
You know,
grinding.
and how well you know them.
Yeah, and it's who you know, of course, that's always going to be big, but you just have to grind, man. Like you just have to put a hustle to it. And if I could talk to kids who are pursuing this journey, just like, hey, just don't expect for it to just be an overnight success story. This isn't music where you can make one hit song and it's going to blow you up to be a superstar. Like this is something that you have to gradually grow into by making the right connections, being at the right events, having a lot of work. Like it's really a hustle. It's a lot of times you're going to hustle and get no pay for it, and you just have to deal through that and finding ways to make money elsewhere that allows you to continue to chase that dream. But once you get on, man, it can be next level for you.
I mean, I've had a lot of people tell me that I shouldn't keep bothering myself with these type of events when I'm not getting paid anything. But I don't let that stop me from doing what I got to do. As a matter of fact, I would often be disappointed if people deliberately try to talk me out of any game that I get media access to, because you know how hard people had to work just to get media access to anything, let alone a football or basketball or baseball game.
Yeah, I remember a point where going to cover games was like, dang, I got to get to that, because it's crazy for me. I was lucky enough to, in college, and graduating from college, I was with KTLA, Channel 5 here in Los Angeles. So that was my first opportunity to cover games. So I was covering the Dodgers when they had Manny and were led by Joe Torre. I was covering the Lakers with, the late, great Kobe Bryant. I was there for his last two finals appearances and finals wins. I was able to cover David Beckham with him coming to the Galaxy. So I was able to start off there. But, being a young kid, I'm like, man, I'm an assistant sports producer. I want to be on camera, and I don't want to have to move to the middle of nowhere. So that's what forced me to take a step back. But the game is so different now with social media that you can truly attack this independently and do a lot with it, which can open up eyes and open up doors for you. And, you got to put in work. Like you said, it's not hard to be credentialed at stuff, but you just have to learn to navigate through the sports journalism game, and doors can open for you.
Exactly. And since you mentioned Kobe Bryant, and this is one of the reasons why I'm on the show, and you know what, we're like literally a day or two away from the 4-year anniversary when Kobe Bryant passed away. Like, can you recall a time of where you were when you found out about the death of Kobe Bryant in 2020?
Yeah, man, I was actually at church, which is crazy. I was at church helping with the kids there that day. And for my old show, Courtside Radio, we have a group chat, and the guys text like, yo, this happened to Kobe. And I'm like, what? So I'm reaching out to the different resources I have. I might have reached out to Chris Broussard to check, and a couple other guys to see if this was legit, but no one was getting back to me. No one really knew until we started to get more and more of the news. And it was just, so heartbreaking, especially for a kid from Los Angeles, huge Lakers fan, to see one of your heroes pass away the way that he did, along with his daughter and all of the others. It was just a very heartbreaking day in LA. You could feel that somber energy, and it's a day that we're going to remember forever.
Exactly. And I remember like literally around that time, I've had people call me telling me about Kobe Bryant being dead, and we reflected on his career and everything that he brought to not just the NBA on the court, but the whole entire community and entertainment. And from that short film where he said, Dear Basketball, Dear Basketball documentary, we won Emmy Awards in. And yeah, pretty much mentoring Gigi, who ended up dying along with them. She probably, I mean, if she had not died, she was probably going to be like attending the University of Connecticut, making them continue that championship pedigree we're seeing right now.
Yeah, and that's what makes it so sad, because you knew that she had a bright future in the game of basketball, and it was all taken away with a tragic accident, man. But just being lucky enough to be, in presence with Kobe Bryant with my time there at KTLA, man, and just what made it so dope for me, once you cover these games, and I'm pretty sure you feel the same when you do it, it humanizes the athletes the more you're able to be around them. Because, we can look at these athletes and look at them as, some people look at them as idols and, heroes and things like that. But just to be able to see the human side of Kobe, and I tell people all the time, during that time with the Lakers in 2008 to 2010, I remember going to the games, and every time you went to the home game, the media were waiting outside the locker room. Sitting at the door will be Vanessa, it will be Gigi and Natalia there. So you saw them every home game, and Kobe was always very welcoming. When it came to the media being in there, especially with me being one of the few Black media, especially at that time, to be in the locker room. So it was just, a tough loss for the basketball world, tough loss for the sports world, and especially for his family and just all his fans across the world.
Exactly. And while we're on the subject of talking about Kobe Bryant, why don't you name your top 5 Kobe Bryant moments?
My top 5 moments. I'll start with number one. Number one for me is getting that 5th championship, defeating the Celtics. Celtics were able to knock him off in 2008. For him to get that back-to-back championship, defeating the Celtics in a Game 7, surpassing Shaq, surpassing even Duncan at that time as the guy to get 5 championships in that era, from pretty much 2000 to 2010. It really made him one of those guys that you can put in your GOAT conversation. So that'll be number one. Number two, I would probably say the lob to Shaq, because it was the start of a dynasty. I remember being a kid that game thinking, like, no way the Lakers went this far. They're about to lose to Portland, but they started to make a run. Kobe went crazy, and then they got the lob to Shaq, and that kind of sparked, it was the start of the dynasty. Number three, for me, it'll probably be the entire 2009 season, because he came off of losing to the Celtics. And it was like, as a Laker fan, honestly, a huge Kobe fan, I had no worries. I said, over Kobe's dead body, will he not win that championship that year? He was going to give everything he had. He was going to motivate everybody that he can from that team and push them to their peak. And they did exactly that. So that will be my number three. Of course, 81 points, that has to be on there. That's number 4 for me. I just think that it's the greatest scoring performance that we'll ever see. I know everybody talks about Wilt Chamberlain. They talk about 100 points, but nobody has tape of that. Nobody has a video for that. So 81 points is the mecca for me, especially in that time and that era where it was tough to score, and that guy was able to score 81. And then number 5, I guess it'll have to be his final game, him being able to score 60 points to finish his career. I don't know if we'll ever see in the NBA another guy exit out that way. I know LeBron can probably do it, like if he really, really, really tries. But the fact that Kobe gave everything he got in his final game, the game was so big that a team about to break the record for the most wins in the season was secondary, because it was Kobe's last game. He started cold. Then he was able to catch fire and get 60 points. So those would be my top 5 Kobe Bryant moments.
I think I'm going to just share a brain with you on this one, because as somebody that didn't really get into Kobe Bryant's career up until 2006, when he had like the 81-point game against Toronto. I'm going to share a brain with you, but I'm going to do it real different. I'm going to change the list here. I mean, number one, of course, I'm going to have the 81-point game, because ever since then, nobody's been able to top that. Not even Joel Embiid, who dropped 70 the other night against San Antonio. But I digress. I mean, number 2, I'm gonna give it to you. The 60-point performance he had to finish off his career against the Utah Jazz's 5 regular season game. You cannot match that either. Only somebody at that age, at 38 years old, could put up 60 points in his final regular season game. I mean, seriously, can't beat that. And I guess in 2003, I'm gonna have to give it to like the game winners he had during the 2010 regular season, because you might include all the game winners he had. Might as well, since they were all phenomenal. Game winner against Milwaukee, game winner against Sacramento, game winner against the Boston Celtics. I mean, you either have a solid performance against the New York Knicks. I mean, yeah, there's so many game winners Kobe Bryant had. I can't even count it. Yeah, and not to mention that was a season where you had finally defeated the Phoenix Suns.
Yeah.
Game 6 of the conference finals. Literally 2 days after Ron Artest, or as they knew now as a better world peace, had that putback layup Game 5. That was incredible. Yeah. The entire 2010 season, which is Kobe Bryant's last season, I had to put it up there. And number 4, I guess I'm gonna have to like include the matchups that Kobe Bryant and LeBron had. The one time where he swept them in 2009. I might as well include that, because you can't get past Kobe versus LeBron in any scenario whatsoever. Yeah, LeBron James could continue to dominate Kobe Bryant as he opposing player for the Lakers, but you can't really defeat that. And number 5, it pains me to say this, but I'm not have to give it this 61 performance he had at the Garden. As much as it pays me, because I'm a New York Knicks fan, but it's a tie between that and the dunk he had against the Brooklyn Nets. And that dunk he had against the Brooklyn Nets in one of the few games he's ever played in the Barclays Center in his NBA career before he retired. Yeah, you can't get past it. So
that was big time. That was big time. I remember that, just because he was an older guy and you like, whoa, Kobe went up. But yeah, I think that Madison Square Garden game is one that a lot of people sleep on. He went crazy, man. He was masterful in that performance, and he loved playing in the Garden. So it just made it that much more special, the way that Spike was reacting and things like that. Of course, him matching up with LeBron was always great, but I don't think that was ever a rival, because when Kobe was in his prime of primes and dominating and winning, Bron hadn't really took that step as a winner yet, So I always looked at his matchups more with like you said, the Suns, for him to like get over them, because they always made it tough whenever he played against the Spurs and Tim Duncan, because that was one of the guys in his era that he had to outlast and have to be better than, because he was the other guy that was winning. Of course, him and Shaq always had big time moments because of their split after winning 3 titles together. Then I used to like the matchups that he had with T-Mac. I think those were special, because if you remember in the early 2000s, it was T-Mac, Kobe, Allen Iverson. Those were the 3 wing guys that we looked at. And then, of course, him and Jordan, whenever they were able to play, whether it's with the Bulls and Kobe was really young, or Kobe's with the Wizards.
That's a very interesting point. In my honorable mention, and I put the game winner against the Phoenix Suns in 2006 in my honorable mention, only because the fact that they blew that series. Yes, that was an incredible game 4. We're never going to diminish that, but you did kind of choke that series. So.
No, yeah, I agree. Game 6, they let it slip away. That damn Tim Thomas knocking down that open 3 that killed him. But he was able to get him back, because 2010, he went crazy against them in the conference final. That's one of his best series of his career, and that helped lead him to the matchup with the Celtics to bring in his 5th and final championship. So we don't care about the Phoenix Suns over here.
Yeah, you're right. And we definitely don't care, because, since we continue, now we're done with the Kobe conversation, we can continue the Lakers conversation, because yesterday, the Lakers, they're kind of below average. They're 22-23. They had a tough loss yesterday against Los Angeles Clippers. They were without LeBron James, so this is to be expected. I mean, even though Lakers have won their last 2 games against the Clippers, the Clippers finally managed to get a win against them for this regular season, particularly, leading the Lakers to like literally the 12th loss in the last 14 games against the Los Angeles Clippers. It seems that whenever the Lakers are kind of mediocre or bad, they just can't seem to match up well against Los Angeles Clippers, especially now that after the James Harden trade and after the shaky start, the Clippers are finally starting to establish themselves as one of the top 4 teams in the Western Conference. But why don't you give me like your state of the Los Angeles Clippers and Lakers, since I know you were there last night covering the matchup and covering them all season?
Yeah, for the Clippers, I'll start there, since they're clearly the better team right now. It seems like they have a tough matchup this year, especially with LeBron playing, but they took advantage yesterday, being able to score. Kawhi having his second triple-double of his career. Man, first of all, that team is just well coached. Coach Ty Lue does an amazing job. Him and his collective as coaches, they come and get the guys in the right spots. But he just knows how to coach egos and keep guys in their place, telling these guys, this is the role we need you at if you want to win. And it has to be major kudos to him for that. But major kudos for Russell Westbrook taking that step, moving to off the bench and, bringing his ego down, because Russ is a big, ego in the NBA. He's a future Hall of Famer, one-time MVP, Mr. Triple-Double. For him doing that, it kind of was like, hey, I'm willing to sacrifice because all I need on my resume is a championship. James Harden has came in, the same exact thing. I don't have to come out, dribble, score 50 points. If I have to have 8 points, 15 assists, whatever it takes to win, it looks like the Clippers they have truly bought in. I think they're like 21-4 since December 1st. Kawhi Leonard has played as many games as we've seen him in a long time. He's looking like a lot like the guy that was with the Toronto Raptors that won a championship, playing good basketball. Then Paul George, he's one of those guys. He can have a weak stretch where you're like, whoa, he looks like one of the top 5 guys in the NBA. And then the next week, he looks like a guy that, is still trying to fit in. So whenever they're peaking, I said it on my pre and post game show called The Full Clip, Clippers Unleashed, that right now, if the Clippers can carry this over for the rest of the season, I have them as the favorites in the Western Conference with those 4 guys, with Zubac, with Plumlee, Daniel Tice, Terrence Mann. Like, they have depth, they have wing play, they have some big, some size, they can defend, they can knock down open threes. Like, they can do everything. Like, as a team, they are perfect right now. But, of course, they got to stay healthy because with the Clippers, it's always an issue. But right now, they look clearly like the team to beat. And now they're going to be leaving L.A. Until, I believe, like February 7th because of their Grammy road trip where they're going to be away for 13 days, play 7 games. If they can come out of that at least 5-2, man, the confidence level is going to be crazy. And they just love playing with each other. And that's why I think you see the best of this bunch, because they honestly love playing with each other. You're seeing James playing with a lot of joy on the court. Kawhi will give you a smile and laugh here and there. Russ is very excited to be away from the Lakers. So the Clippers look like a very dangerous team. And I think right now that they should be the favorite in the Western Conference, because the Nuggets to me don't look the same. And I even told people before, I felt that the Nuggets got hot. They won a championship, but I don't think that's going to be lasting a long time. So this is the Clippers' year. As a Laker fan, I hate to say it, but this is the Clippers' year. If they don't do it this year before going into their beautiful new arena, Intuit Dome there in Inglewood, California, I don't think they're ever, I don't know if they're ever going to win a championship. So I think this is their year to do it for sure. Do you have any thoughts? What you think about the Clippers? Well, you over there in New York, what are you seeing from this Clipper team?
I think that at the beginning, after the James Harden trade, they had like some chemistry issues, just trying to figure out how these players are going to coexist. And I saw 2 games against the New York Knicks and the Brooklyn Nets back in November where they eventually lost, which was like the big highlight to starting off 0-6 since the James Harden trade. They've had some chemistry issues, but judging by like the highlights and the victories, and even the victory the other night against Brooklyn last Sunday where they were down by like 18 points and they had like 1 extra points, they finally started to get the chemistry together. I mean, they know the players' offensive strengths and weaknesses. They know where the players need to be in order to get off the right shots, especially with James Harden doing that fast break transition pass to Norman Powell for the dunk that capped off a 22-0 run by the Los Angeles Clippers over the Brooklyn Nets. And I got to give it to the Clippers. That was a crazy comeback. And the ability to actually get this team together. I mean, you already had Kawhi Leonard and Paul George, but they knew that, but they needed more than just Kawhi Leonard and Paul George in order to win the championship, clearly. after they choked a 3-1 lead against Denver in the bubble year, and then you lose to the Phoenix Suns, and then they kind of had the shaky moments. Well, they didn't make the playoffs in 2022. They made it in 2023, but they couldn't defeat the Phoenix Suns. But this time around, I feel like this will be the year. Not only do they, well, I said a few podcast episodes ago that the finals is going to be between the Celtics and the Timberwolves because the Timberwolves having a phenomenal year, at least after the first half. But the way the Clippers are coming up and breathing down the Timberwolves, OKC Thunder, and Denver Nuggets neck, they can get the top seed in the NBA. You're not being coached by Doc Rivers, who signed with the Milwaukee Bucks, which we'll get to that later because that's one of the news headlines we've had so far this week. But this Clippers team, they literally established themselves as a championship contender.
Yeah, and I think that they're going to be even better in the playoffs. Like you mentioned, you mentioned Timberwolves, you mentioned OKC. I think those young teams are built to win during the regular season and pick up a lot of victories. But when it comes to the playoffs, those younger teams sometimes get exposed. But I think this Clipper team is battle-tested. These vets, Paul George, James Harden, Russell Westbrook, that's all they have to add to their legacy is a title. And I think that they're all in. You mentioned Norman Powell. He is like the perfect player to come off the bench, knocking down shots and things like that. He hit some big shots yesterday, going crazy against Austin Rivers, which everybody is going crazy against Austin Reeves. But, man, it's just they look like a great, great team. And I think they're going to be a very, very tough out. And I wouldn't be surprised one bit if they're representing the Western Conference in the NBA Finals. But I got to get to my team because, of course, my Los Angeles Lakers, they took that L last night to the Clippers, and it just looks rough. And as a Laker fan on Twitter, on Instagram, all you heard last year was Russ is the problem, Russ is the problem, Russ is the problem. Then we make a big trade, we make these moves, we make a run to the conference finals, and it's like, hey, they figured something out. And you bring in Gabe Vincent, you bring in Cam Reddish, and you bring in some other pieces, and you retain a lot of guys. The thoughts was that this team is going to be a team to be reckoned with, and we were all totally wrong. I know everybody's placing the blame on Darvin Ham, and I think that he's an okay coach. They know it's only his second year coaching. He's still growing. He's still getting better. So, of course, the growing pains are going to occur. But it comes down to players, man. And the Lakers players aren't playing up to par. Other than Anthony Davis and LeBron James, a lot of these guys have struggled. Shout out to D'Angelo Russell. He's been playing some great basketball as of late because he said he even figured out, I just have to be aggressive playing with AD and Bron and not wait for them. But a lot of these guys aren't playing up to par. Austin Reeves, you had some Laker fans, my Laker brothers and sisters out there who were saying he has all-star ability, and this guy can't play a lick of defense. This guy isn't playing the same way offensively like he was. Vanderbilt, he hasn't been able to stay healthy, and when he does, he's not making a mark out there. Gabe Vincent, who you signed, replacing Dennis Schroeder, you thought he was going to bring what he did with the Heat over. He can't stay healthy. It's just a lot of bad things that are just going on with this team. Are they still scary? Yes, I believe. I believe that this team is built more for the playoffs. Like I said earlier, OKC, Timberwolves, young, like to get up and down, shoot a lot of threes. Their games are meant to win a lot of regular season games. The Lakers, since they pay a guy that's 39 years old as one of your best players, you're going to build – your team is not going to be as fast, not going to be as explosive. So your team is mostly made for the playoffs. It sucks because as the Lakers, it puts you in the spot to where, okay, hopefully we can get into the play-in. If we get in there, we're going to have to go through a lot of top teams to do it. But as long as the Lakers can get in, if they're healthy, they are going to be scary because they have LeBron James, they have Anthony Davis, because I believe that they are built for the playoffs. But if I had to pick, of course, right now, who would I believe in more? It will be the Clippers. But the Lakers, they just have to keep going along. They might make some moves here and there to try to see if that can help them. I wish they had some more shooting because LeBron is best when he has a bunch of shooting around him. But they got to play some damn defense. They got to make shots, and players have to step up, and the Lakers can be all right. It's just about getting in. And if they get in, they're going to be a tough team led by LeBron and AD.
Yeah, exactly. And I was just getting ready to say during the conversation, I mean, you did make it to the conference finals, and this was a team that LeBron broke the all-time scoring record, surpassing Kareem Abdul-Jabbar. And when you're carried by one of the greatest players of all time, it's no need to sleep on the Lakers. You were in this position over a year ago, and you need to make that one trade to even position yourself for a playoff run. You got past. I mean, you got past the Memphis Grizzlies, who was having issues of their own, with John Morant having like flashing guns and in the front court having injuries, and then you defeated the Golden State Warriors. It was in LeBron's second time defeating the Golden State Warriors. Unfortunately, it's a series that isn't the NBA Finals, but the fact of the matter is that was the second time you defeated a Stephen Curry-led Golden State Warriors team in the playoffs. But then you ran to the Denver Nuggets, who clearly remembered losing to them in the bubble. So there's that. And I expect the Lakers to actually bounce back and have a better run. I mean, Lakers, they have issues of their own. They got smoked by the Brooklyn Nets like before the meltdown they've had against the Clippers. I'm talking about Brooklyn, by the way. And then, of course, Lakers, they have. I mean, with the exception of the fact they did manage to win the in-season tournaments against the Pacers. I mean, and obviously you were probably there to cover that. We'll get to the experience with that later show. But matter of fact, what your overall experience like covering the in-season tournament when it was in Las Vegas, and how will that elevate LeBron's career going forward?
To be honest, it was just something new. Everybody saw the floors, looking different, so that was pretty unique. But the energy to me was the same. It was just like a regular season game. It had things that some incentives for you, because if you win, you can go to Vegas and get some money. And I know how LeBron is. LeBron is a guy that listens to what people are saying about him. So he knew that, hey, if I can add this to my legacy, that I was the first one to win this. This is just building enough ammunition so that once his career is done, 5 or 10 years from now, you can have this, thing to put up him against any of the guys that you consider into your all-time list. So it was just, it was something different. It was exciting because, of course, whenever the Lakers win, it's always a great thing. No matter what the Dodgers do out here, no matter what any other football teams do out here, this is a Los Angeles Lakers town. They're the most winningest team here in all of sports. And since 1979, they have been not only one of probably the best basketball team that there is. They've probably been the best sports team that there is, because they won so many championships, had so many superstar players. So just adding that into the building just added more prestige to the team. So it was really big time. And just to add on one more thing that you mentioned when it came to the Lakers, they're one game under 500 right now. As long as they can get into the play-in, that's what matters. And what can help them? You mentioned the young teams that are at the top, Timberwolves, the Oklahoma City Thunder. Both of those teams don't know what it's like to win in the playoffs, really. So if they have to match up against a Lakers team that comes in healthy, that's coming in with some momentum after winning and getting into the play-in situation, that's going to be a tough out for those young teams going against LeBron and AD. Of course, if it's the Nuggets at the top, or at number 2, and the Lakers have to face them or the Clippers, they're in trouble. But if they can somehow get one of those teams, and say if somehow OKC is number 2, you have at number 3, you have the Timberwolves, you have the Lakers match up with one of those teams in the first round, can get away with an upset, then match up with another young team in the second round. That's how they can make another run back to the conference finals, because it's all about stuff falling into place for you. Last year it fell in place. Memphis was dealing with everything, injuries and things like that. Lakers took advantage. the Golden State Warriors just didn't look the same. Lakers took advantage.
Right now, they're 18 and 20.
Yeah, exactly. And we kind of saw the writing on the wall with the whole Draymond situation with what he did to Jordan Poole. And then when they actually had to play a team with some veterans that was ready to go, that's when they were defeated and swept. So I wouldn't close the door on this Lakers team yet. You never can when you have a team with LeBron and AD. But it's going to be interesting. But so, I'm going to be there tomorrow when they play Chicago. Being around them, the guys seem like they're confident. And, it's just people don't get this. It is so tough to not only play for the Lakers, but play for LeBron James because there's so much press. Anything that you do wrong is magnified to the millionth degree. When you play well, it's LeBron is carrying his guys. They're getting better because he's that great. When you play bad, even if LeBron play bad, it's these guys suck. They need to be traded. But that team just has to figure it out. And I'm hoping that Darvin Ham can get the best out of them and they can figure it out. So it's been really fun covering them this year. The Clippers has been more fun because they're winning, but it's always fun covering the Lakers, my childhood favorite team. And, seeing LeBron and AD whenever I can.
And you're doing a major job with those stamps you do with the people that you're working with covering those Los Angeles sports teams. I got to give you that. And being in locker rooms, interviewing these players, and I've done it more than enough times to know what it's like to be there. Like seriously,
I appreciate you.
The fact that they even know and the fact that they even, and eventually when you congratulate them, they even knew your name after saying your name to them so many times.
Yeah,
it's all about staying in the moment.
Staying in the moments, being present. Being there, that's what opens the doors for you. So, hey, I'm going to be there as much as I can.
Exactly. And you know what? Since while we continue to talk about the California basketball teams, let's transition into Bronny James he played his first 2 games played for USC and he had the cardiac arrest incident that almost like ended his life before he even got to play. And when he did play, he was like literally a bench warmer. I mean, what is like how many seasons do you see Bronny James playing in USC?
Man, he's Bronny James. So it matters how he finishes this year out. I think that because of his last name and social media, the popularity that he has, and this being not a strong NBA draft, that he can sneak in and be a draft pick, especially if LeBron is like, hey, go and draft this guy. I will be with your team. Because people forget LeBron has a player option. He can opt out and go somewhere else if somebody takes Bronny. So I think LeBron might try to push team to do something like that. But for me, I think Bronny needs at least 2 or 3 defensively. He's very athletic.
Wait, you said 2 or 3 years?
Yeah, I think 2 or 3 years of college because for his size, if he was a 6'7" guy with his ability, I would say hey, he should be a first rounder. But with his size at like 6'3", 6'4", maybe, he isn't the greatest ball handler. He doesn't really create too much offense for himself. And we see in the NBA that it's all about the offense. Being a great defender is really good, but that don't really matter until the playoffs. It's about, can you get buckets? So if you're going to use, especially a first-round draft pick in today's age, I need to make sure that you can get buckets, whether you're a really good catch-and-shoot guy, whether you're a ball handler that can get to the rim. And right now, those 2 things are the parts of his games he has to work on the most. Is he a great athlete? Yes, he is. Is he a really good defender? He is a really solid defender. But can you tell him to come in? Like, I hate that LeBron keeps saying that he could play on the Lakers right now. No, he cannot, because he is the 3rd and some days the 4th best guard on his team at USC with Boogie Ellis there and Isaiah Collier and sometimes Sellers or Dennis Rodman, the 3rd there. So he still needs time. He is a guy that if he's drafted at all in the first round, it's because of the name. They know that he probably can bring some bodies out, and there's a possibility of LeBron coming with him. But I don't think that right now his game is NBA ready. But there's a lot of season left. USC is struggling. They haven't looked like the team everybody expected. Guys are dealing with injuries, so he's even starting getting more looks. I think he had like 16 points a few games ago against Arizona or Arizona State, one of those teams. So he's doing a little more, but I'm going to have to see a lot of growth from Bronny for me to trust a team to actually draft him and say he is going to be able to help us within the next 2 years in the NBA.
Exactly, and there's a reason why the WNBA requires women's college basketball players to play all 5 years or all 4 years or 5 years if you get like a redshirt a year for some reason before you become eligible for the draft. That's what they should have started doing with the NBA players. I mean, you got NBA players coming to the NBA after 1 college basketball season or 2 college basketball seasons. Bronny James needs to excel himself and develop his game a little bit more before you can talk about going to the NBA.
Yeah, I think 2 is enough. But honestly,
because let's not forget, he just started playing college basketball 2 months ago or a month ago.
Oh yeah, he couldn't even work out.
He has to play. Yeah, he has to play. He played more developing his game in order to be NBA ready.
Yeah, and he couldn't work out.
Yeah, exactly.
So it's yeah, man. I think Bronny should play a little longer because it's not like he can't make money with the NIL deals. He can make money, and he don't need money. He's LeBron James' son. So just enjoy college, play as many years as you can, and that's why for me, I know you said you think that guys should have to stay 4. I believe the rules should be. Some guys are good enough to go straight from high school. Like they just have that type of game. Today, it might be a little different because these guys don't have as much fundamental skills because of AAU basketball and guys just all playing together and playing with the best players. So they don't really push themselves as much when it comes to the games and things like that. But I believe that the rules should be guys can come from the NBA, high school to the NBA. Or if you decide to go to college, you have to stay for 2 years, which I think is more enticing nowadays because of the NIL. If you're a guy that's a 5-star, but you want to be a top 7 pick, and right now they're projecting you at 15, go to college for 2 years. Hell, you might develop and be the number 1 overall pick after 2 years of college. Make yourself a legend at the university that you're at, and now you're a legend for your college, and you're a legend for the pros if you have a great career. Because that's the only thing that LeBron, Kobe, KG, guys like that is missing from their careers is that they aren't legends on college campuses. But I think that's such a special thing that a lot of those guys, and a lot of guys miss that go straight to the G League or go overseas. It's like you get to go to college and forever. Like shout out to my guy, Russ. He went to UCLA and was able to become a legendary player there, having a great sophomore year to where now the practice court is named after him, and he can forever be at UCLA basketball, football games free and doing whatever he wants. So, Bronny is a guy that needs to, I think, hone in on that. Say, I want to become a USC Trojan legend first, and then I'll take my talents to the NBA.
Exactly. And you know what? LeBron said in an interview he wants to continue playing until he gets at least 1 season playing with his son before he decides to hang it up.
Mm-hmm.
Do you think LeBron James should still focus on that?
Man, I think LeBron should just focus on trying to win. If he can't win, after he get 40,000 points, where I think he's like 1,000 points away, it's like, what are you truly playing for at this point? You already made all the money you can from the game of basketball. You already are the all-time leading scorer. If it's not about winning, it's like, why are you still out there? And if you look at this Laker roster, I don't know if they're going to be winning a championship anytime soon with LeBron being 39, eventually 40 next year if he's still with the Lakers. Like, I don't know what more. It's kind of like Tom Brady, football. We saw him playing. Of course, he got Tampa Bay to the playoffs again. But it's like, man, what are you playing for still? You got 7 Super Bowls. You got all these MVPs, got all the numbers. What more are you playing for? I know some of it with LeBron is that maybe he can get lucky and squeak out another ring or two to get as close to Jordan as possible, and tie Kobe and Duncan and guys like that. But man, it's almost to that point to where it's like, well, what more do you have to prove? We've seen all of your career. We've seen the best of you. Sometimes you just got to learn to let it go.
Yeah, that's the best you can do. And now we transition into some Los Angeles Sparks talk, because I know you covered the Los Angeles Sparks, and WNBA free agency just started this week. And the most recent headline this week is Nneka Ogwumike announced that she will not return to Los Angeles Sparks. Now, with that happening, what went through your mind, and what are your overall thoughts on what she brings to not just the Los Angeles Sparks, but the WNBA overall, on and off the court?
Yeah, she's a great ambassador for the game of women's basketball. A hell of a player. She gave the Sparks an amazing 12 years. And you kind of felt it. It sucks because I had a whole thing set up for us to talk about this. And, man, yeah, if they can bring back Nneka, if you look last year, they were a top 4 team in the WNBA when they had a healthy team. But once Lexi went down with her illness and all of the injuries and stuff started occurring, that's when they fell out and missed the playoffs. But now losing Nneka, you lose a player who gave a lot for this team in 12 years, 2016 MVP, hit the game winner to win the 2016 finals. She balled out last year. She looked amazing, so efficient, leading that team. When they dealt with so much for them to even get close, just showed you how great that she is. And she still got it. And you kind of felt after the season, she saw, Candace Parker go and win another title. And that she's seeing what Vegas is doing. She's like, man, maybe I can get to a team and add another championship to my legacy. So I think it's the right time. The Sparks are pretty much at a point that they're going to be competitive next year if they can make the right moves. But it's like they're rebuilding. Like, they're going to have a second overall pick, what can end up being someone like Cameron Brink from Stanford. But you do have Lexi there, who looked like an all-star player before she dealt with the illness. You got Zaya Cook, her second year. The team's going to look for her to make a big jump. Jordan Canada is going to be back. She's a point guard that's like, she's getting better.
We're talking about sign and trade, but go ahead.
No, yeah. So if you can have her back or get some pieces for her, like, this is a team that can, rebuild and rebuild fast, because you have the second overall pick. You have a player like Zaya, De'Erica Hamby is there. So I wouldn't sleep on what the moves that the Sparks can make, but they just have to make the right moves. But losing Nneka, of course, is a big sting. And shout out to Nneka. I was able to tap in with Chiney Ogwumike last night as well. Those ladies are great women, great ambassadors of the game, what they're both doing on and off the court. If that Nneka leaving means that there's no Chiney, whether she retires or decide to play elsewhere, well, I don't think she's going to play elsewhere because she does so much, on TV in LA. But if we were to lose those two players, those sisters, it's going to be a big loss. But shout out to them, because they always show love, very respectful, very friendly, and great individuals.
Yeah, I was thinking like, before I got on the air, I was thinking to myself, there was many other teams that she's already spoken to. I mean, from what I've read, she had already spoken with the Los Angeles Sparks. We just said that she's not coming back, but she's also had conversations with the Atlanta Dream, the Phoenix Mercury, and the Chicago Sky, as Jackie Powell from the Knicks reported. And now she's trying to do meetings with the Seattle Storm and the New York Liberty. But in my case, before I ask you this question,
okay.
Yeah, she would probably make a good fit for she probably wouldn't, systematic wise, I know with the New York Liberty would not look right, because they already had Brianna Stewart and Jocko Jones coming back. They already set, thank God. They would have to come off the bench, or even if she does become a starting role, she would have to be like a third or fourth. She ought to start like at the 3 or the 4. And that wouldn't look, in systematic wise, as much as I would like to have her on the Liberty generally, I would rather you go somewhere else. Go to the Chicago Sky, where you can help Kalia Copper get closer and closer to that championship pedigree you had in 21 and 22. Or you can go to Seattle, where you could go from the team you were last year with just Drew Lloyd to actually becoming a very useful piece to building the Seattle Storm back to the winning pedigree that you had when Breanna Stewart and Sue Bird was there. I mean, it's going to take steps, but you're getting closer and closer. Or you could go to the Atlanta Dream, where you're or a front court duo with her and Ryan Howard. You can't stop that. You can't.
Yeah,
what do you think?
she's gonna have some great options to choose from. And with the WNBA being 12 teams, you can make jumps. And like, I would love to see her with Ryan Howard. Like, that would be a crazy front court to have there in Atlanta. And there's a lot of stuff that she can do away from the game in Atlanta. But also seeing her in Seattle will be crazy. And keep her on the West Coast. She'll be able to play with Jewel Lloyd. And we saw how crazy she is. They'll have that, like you said, that 1-2 punch, Sue Bird, Lauren Jackson, Sue Bird, Breanna Stewart type of ordeal. Chicago, we saw that. Candace was there. You plugged her in, they were champions. Maybe you plug in NECA, you look for the same type of thing. So, like, with her, it's so open, so many teams that she can choose from. I don't even know who to choose as the favorite, but I think my two favorite will be Seattle and Atlanta. I think those would be two great situations. Atlanta, you go to the Eastern Conference, you play with Ryan Howard, somebody who can go get buckets, and that front court is so dangerous. Or you stay on the West Coast, you play with Miss Lloyd, and y'all go and get at it and try to take Seattle to that next level.
Yeah, because Seattle still was bad last year. It's understandable because, they rebuilding. And not to mention, they had one of the top 4 picks in the WNBA draft, and they could, well, you're not going to get Caitlin Clark with the pick you have, but at the very least, you're going to build something.
Yeah, you can get a Paige Beckers that can go with them. You
useful, but she's protected to go to the Phoenix Mercury, so don't give her any hopes. Oh yeah, Phoenix Mercury, that's another option. I mean, imagine her with Diana Taurasi and Brittany Griner and Skylar Diggins-Smith if she goes back, and that's another player that we need to talk about. Imagine that.
Yeah, Skylar. I think Skylar's, that situation is just too bad. I think that she's out of there, but that'll be crazy to see her with Brittany Griner. But I just think that Diana Taurasi is at that LeBron stage. They're just to the age to where, man, they can do a lot as individuals, but does that lead to winning? I don't think they can do it the same. So that's why I would stay away from Phoenix. But her and Brittany Griner will be next. But I think that NECA, especially at this point of her career, is best next to a big that can kind of stretch the floor and do a little bit of the dirty work. That's why I think last year she looked so well playing next to De'Erica compared to the year before playing next to, I can't think of her name, Liz Cambage, is because Liz was kind of in the way compared to De'Erica, who could, stretch out and shoot a three-point shot as well. So it's going to be interesting, something I'm going to track. But kudos, shout out to you, NECA, for the 12 years you gave Los Angeles. She's forever a legend. She's going to be the next jersey hung in the rafters for the Los Angeles Sparks. And, much love to her.
Yeah, much love to her indeed. Okay, now we transition to some Los Angeles Rams football. And, if you've been following it, they're back to be in the playoffs 2 years after winning the Super Bowl, or in this case, being so far in the Cincinnati Bengals. They missed the playoffs last year. This year they reached it, and then they had a slight loss to the Detroit Lions in what was Detroit's first playoff home game in 31 years. Looking at the Los Angeles Rams in 2023, I mean, what are your overall impressions as you recap the Rams?
Man, the Rams really surprised me. I wrote an article before the season for the Sporting Tribune, and I said the Rams should tank for Caleb Williams. And boy, was I all the way wrong. I just wasn't sure that Matthew Stafford can look like the guy that we once knew before, but he was exactly that. And he played some great football. And, especially in this era of football, you go as far as your quarterback go. And he shows you that he still can sling that thing. he still can make some plays at the quarterback position. And then, they got some big-time surprises, guys that stepped up. Coming into the season, Cam Akers was their starting running back. He gets let go of. Kyron Williams elevates to the starter, and that guy is a stud, second year from Notre Dame. He is a guy that can catch the ball, run the ball, and he was one of those guys that was a big-time baller. I loved him in fantasy football because he helped me win so many games. Like, they got a star in that guy. And then they hit another home run with a late draft pick with a superstar, it looks like, in Puka Nacua, who came on, broke the rookie record for most yards as a wide receiver. They hit on a lot of stuff with their draft, and they had one of the youngest teams in the NFL, and we all knew that coming in, covering them with their training camp and things like that. You didn't expect for these young guys to play so well, and they did. And that's just on the offense, where Cooper Kupp was able to come back and show you that he can still be that guy, or at least close to it. Tutu Atwell, who they have at receiver, like, they showed you that they still can do some things offensively. Then Aaron Donald was still as close to Aaron Donald as he can be. Then Kobe Turner, another mid-round rookie who came in with 9 sacks as a rookie. And they just had a lot of things fall into place. And that's what happens when you draft well. The reason why the Kansas City Chiefs are playing this Sunday in the AFC Championship once again is because they draft well. The reason why the New England Patriots were so good for so many years, of course, the quarterback play has to be there, but they draft well to good pieces around the quarterback and on defense and things like that. And the Rams knocked it out the park, so they shut me up. They made me look dumb. They made me look stupid. And now I'm very intrigued to see how their offseason goes again, how their draft goes, and see if now they can say, hey, we got pieces a different way. We didn't go and buy them through big trades and things like that. We actually drafted. And if these players can take that next step, they're going to be another team that's top 4 in the NFC next year.
Yeah, and it's going to be very tough to win the division going forward. I mean, they had a decent season where you were the 6th seed and made the playoffs, losing to a 3rd seeded Detroit Lions. But this is like, it takes a lot of redevelopment with all the pieces that you just mentioned in order for it to get back to that Super Bowl pedigree that they've had. Like definitely better than the Super Bowl against Tom Brady's Patriots, but we don't need to talk about that. but yeah, it's gonna take a lot. It's gonna take a lot. They have a lot of figuring out to do this offseason coming up in order for the Los Angeles Rams to build off of this playoff experience, because there are a lot of hangovers that happened. I mean, they had that hangover after winning the Super Bowl and before they came back. So do you see the Rams being like, what do the Rams need to add in order to build off of this playoff season?
I think they got to get some DBs for sure, some linebackers. I think those are 2 positions that they really have to, build a strong defense, because offensively, I think it's like, hey, as long as Matthew Stafford, because people forget he missed a couple games this year, that maybe if he plays, now you win a couple more games, your seeding looks different, you match up differently in the playoffs. But it's going to come down to health with Matthew Stafford, for Aaron Donald, Cooper Kupp. If that big 3 is healthy, with the emergence of Puka Nacua, Kyron Williams, Tutu Atwell on offense, just drafting right and getting the right pieces on defense, and of course the O-line to protect Matthew Stafford. I'm telling you, man, this Ram team, the way that Sean McVay can coach up a team, they can be a team that makes a push like Detroit did this year. A team that, Detroit last year, we were like, man, they look like they can make something happen, and now they're playing in the NFC Championship game. I think the Rams, as long as they can draft well, add the right little pieces through free agency, they can be a team that I can see next year that's in the NFC Championship somehow, some way.
That's a very interesting point. And while we're on such a talk about the Los Angeles Rams, they get like they only scored, they average about like 23.8 points as a team while giving up 22.2 or around somewhere those rounds. And offensively, they had about 44 touchdowns. And it's all because of the players that you just mentioned that excel themselves towards putting up those crazy stats that I just listed out.
Yeah, though, man, they were very surprising, man. I did not expect this season at all. I underestimated Sean McVay and his Raheem Moore coaching up that defense. They just found a way to win games. And if you look at it in that division, it's just them and the Niners. It looks like Seattle is going to take a step back with no Pete Carroll. We don't know what Arizona is going to look like, even though they got Kyler Murray over there and may have a chance to add Marvin Harrison the second. But if the Rams, if they can knock it out the park again with their drafting, not only with their top picks, but with the guys they get in the third, fourth, fifth round who has emerged for them, like I said, like Kansas City, that's how you keep your team at the top. That's how you keep your team there. And if Aaron Donald is healthy, guys, just imagine if those guys take the next step. Imagine if Puka takes that next step and he becomes that true number one to where Cooper Kupp is now playing off of him. Kyron Williams is looking like a top 5 running back once again. Kobe Turner on defense is getting after the quarterback to where he's prolonging Aaron Donald's productivity with his career. Like, man, with the right pieces, they can be right there, especially in a wide open NFC, other than maybe the Niners, who it looks like that has true staying power, and maybe the Lions. We'll see if Jared Goff can do it again. It's like that's the only team, and the Cowboys are the Cowboys. They're a team, ticking time bomb waiting to explode. It's wide open in the NFC for the Rams to make that jump to be back at the top next season.
That's a very interesting point, and they're going to have to continue to do that in order to build supremacy within Los Angeles football. Because earlier today it was announced that Jim Harbaugh, who coached Michigan to a national championship, he's going to be a new coach for Los Angeles Chargers. And the Chargers, they have all the offense they needed with Justin Herbert as a quarterback, but the secondary wasn't really too great. Hopefully, Jim Harbaugh can descend his coaching skills onto the Los Angeles Chargers with the type of secondary they have. Like, what are your overall thoughts when you saw the news break out, and how will he help develop his players after the season he had with Michigan?
Man, it was crazy because I was driving and it popped up. I'm like, oh, wow, breaking news. But I kind of figured that would be the move. Jim being a former Charger, Jim Harbaugh being a former Charger, San Diego Charger, now they're in L.A. He went, coached at his alma mater, was able to bring them a championship. What more does he have to prove with them there? I like it. I like it a lot. I think he's going to help bring them some toughness. He's going to bring them a guy that a lot of people are going to trust. He was very successful with the Niners, leading them to a Super Bowl where they came up short against the Ravens. But he's going to bring them toughness. He's going to bring them a guy that has a much more pedigree than Brandon Staley, who was there before him. And I think that, he's just going to bring an excitement to that team and, maybe bring them some luck, because a lot of it with the Chargers just seems like they just have bad luck. This year, they had bad luck, losing a lot of close games, a lot of injuries that hurt them. They make it to the playoffs. The year before, you have this big lead versus Jacksonville. Bad luck ruins that. You end up losing. You don't even make it to the divisional round. So hopefully he can just bring some of that luck to them. And though I'm an LA guy, I don't want him to bring too much luck, because if you don't know, I'm a huge Kansas City Chiefs fan, have been since the 90s. I know that it's tough. It's tough to have to compete with the Chiefs year in and year out because of Mahomes, because of Andy Reid, but they have the pieces placed there. They have Justin Herbert. It looks like, they can figure out something with the running back if it's not going to be Eckler. You still have Keenan Allen. You have Mike Williams, who may be back after the injury. They took a receiver in the first round last year. I saw a mock draft that gave them Brock Bowers, which will be great for Justin Herbert, a guy who could dominate the middle of the field, intermediate, like Travis Kelce, like a George Kittle. And then, like you said, they got to get some defense. This team with Brandon Staley, everybody expected for them to be a great defensive team. You got Justin Herbert. Long as he's good enough with a great defense, you like, we can win a lot of games. The defense has always been a disappointment with injuries, with guys not playing up to their contracts, and et cetera. So it's just a new day with Los Angeles Chargers football. And you got if you're an LA football fan, it has to be great because you have the Rams, was surprising everybody. Weren't supposed to be that good. What they can do next year. Now you add Jim Harbaugh here. You have UCLA, USC moving over to the Big Ten. It's an exciting time when it comes to LA football.
Yep, very exciting time indeed. And yeah, we're not before we end the show. There's a couple things to talk about. I mean, obviously, we already went over the Clippers winning, and we had to talk about the way the Knicks have been progressing ever since the OG Anunoby trade. The Knicks are now 10-2 after the OG Anunoby trade. What do you think about the way the Knicks have been playing ever since the OG Anunoby trade, and when Kendrick Perkins mentioned on the show that the Knicks are a top 2 team in the Eastern Conference, do you agree with them?
I don't know if they're top 2 because I really like Philly a lot. I think that Embiid is a monster. Tyrese Maxey is like he's falling into that space. I'm not trying to be blasphemous because he's never going to be Kobe Bryant, but it's kind of looking like he's making that jump that happened in the early 2000s when Shaq was an MVP guy. Kobe took that next step, and they became that championship team. And they look like that. But the Knicks, sometimes you're better with the subtraction. We saw with Philly, they were able to get James Harden off their hand. It allowed Tyrese Maxey to step up, and you build more depth around your team, and now they look really good. I think the same thing with the Knicks. Like, you had R.J. Barrett. I just don't think he was ever that type of fit to be a third guy. Like, I think his game, he wants to be tailor-made to be at least a top 2 guy. But now with OG, he just slides into a role. You have your 2 top guys when it comes to scoring is Jalen Brunson, Julius Randle. Now you have OG, who he can go and give you 20 or 30, and that's a plus, but he's going to bring you energy. He's going to bring you defense. He comes from a championship pedigree, being a part of that team that won a ring with Kawhi, with the Toronto Raptors, and then they were very solid the following year. And, it's just about things falling into place, and everything is falling into place, and now they look more like a total team. It's like the same thing we talked about with the Clippers. The Clippers aren't just these 4 big names. They're a team, and that's what the Knicks look like. It's the perfect fit for Tibbs, and he's getting the best out of them. Will this translate into winning playoff series? For you basketball fans, you have to understand, especially in today's NBA, regular season basketball, playoff basketball is a
Two different things.
Different
Two
thing.
different things. And
Two different
you've been in
things.
that environment so many times, seeing for your clips, so you probably get a good sense of that.
Yeah, and so I think that this team, the Knicks, are now built better to win a bunch of regular season games. Will that translate into playoff victories? I don't know, because you still have Boston, you have Philly, you still have Milwaukee. Even though they had to make a coaching change, they're 30-13 with Dame Lillard, with Giannis, and some guys who won a championship a couple years ago. So I don't think it makes them a top 2 team, because when I think of the top teams, I think of not just the record. I'm looking at the totality of the season and your team, and like, how does this team progress into winning in the playoffs? And if you say you're a top 2 team, that means to me that it makes me think that you should be in the Eastern Conference Finals, and I'm not that far with the Knicks, even though they're playing some really good basketball.
Oh no, no, I don't blame you for they're a first or second round A6. But I'll say this though, this Knicks team, they play like they're good enough to get to the conference finals. But I'm concerned about how they're going to play the rest of the regular season, because although they win the games they're supposed to win. That's what you're supposed to do. But they don't really do well against teams that are not that good. They're 8-17 against good teams, and they're about to go up against a Denver Nuggets team later this week, and then they're facing the Miami Heat, the team that took them out in the playoffs last year in a 5-8 seed matchup.
Yeah, and hey, one thing that it is doing for New York, and I'm a big fan of New York as well. Like, I'm a big fan of New York sports. a big fan of New York music. After we talk this, I got a question for you before we get out of here, since you being from Brooklyn. But I just think that the Knicks are putting themselves in place to be enticing to a star player that's going to make that one star guy say, you know what, I really like what they're doing over there in New York. I would love to go and play with Brunson, OG, Julius Randle, and those guys.
Exactly. And don't mean to cut you off, but that's the same.
No, you're good.
I mean, not to go off topic, but that's the same reason why they were able to attract players like Breonna Stewart and Jonquel Jones for the New York Liberty a year ago. Jonquel Jones mentioned in the introductory press conference that she loved what the Liberty were building after those 2 playoff appearances, even with losing records, those 2 playoff appearances they've had in 21 and 22. So she personally asked for a trade to go there, and after the one season where they were in the finals, she intended to go back. But getting back on topic, you got interesting points.
Because
the build off of this, it get past the second round, stars who want to go there.
Yeah, and I think
the place a destination. Marcus Spears said it once on ESPN First Take. Jalen Brunson and Julius Randle made New York a destination for Josh Hart and OG Anunoby.
Mm-hmm. And I think it's going to make one of the top guys. I think Donovan Mitchell might be like, hey, I want to go and fit into that team. But yeah, I think that's what they're doing. People always overlook too. Like the Knicks were never like the Lakers. Like the Lakers always found ways to make big trades, to get big time guys. And next thing you know, you look at their roster, it's all these amazing names. The Knicks were known for a team that will build through the draft by upbuilding players. If you take it all the way back to when they were winning with Willis Reed and Walt Frazier and things like that, like they drafted Patrick Ewing and put all these different pieces around them that made them an exciting team and every year a championship contender. If it wasn't for MJ, maybe they would have got one. And that's what them trading for Carmelo many years ago was like, what are you doing? It looks like he's going to come here no matter what.
Anthony, and then, you had three playoff seasons, 6 non-playoff seasons.
Yeah. And it's like if you...
But I'm lying. 4 losing seasons, correction.
Yeah. And it's like if you just wait, you can build. You know, you can keep the assets you have and sign Carmelo. So I think that they're finally realizing that let's not just give away everything to get these big names and be like the Brooklyn Nets, who had Kevin Durant, James Harden, and Kyrie and got nothing out of it.
I was just thinking about the New York Liberty earlier in the conversation. The super team that we see for New York Liberty right now and what the New York Knicks have right now, that's what the Brooklyn Nets are supposed to have when they had KD, Kyrie, and Harden.
Exactly.
They had that to a certain extent. Too many injuries and COVID interruptions, but yeah.
Yeah, so hopefully the Knicks can figure it out, because I always say, I'm waiting to have that greatest finals in my lifetime, to see the Lakers versus the New York Knicks. The day that we can have that, it is going to be so exciting. And I hopefully we can get it within the next 5 to 10 years, because I know it is going to do so many great numbers, and it's going to be very special.
Yes, indeed. And you say you got something to ask me?
Yeah, I have a question. You being from Brooklyn, I don't know how big of a hip hop fan you are, but I'm a huge hip hop fan, West Coast hip hop.
I grew up listening to hip hop ever since I was a middle school kid. I even once used to turn the cafeteria to a glorified concert and got told the time. So I listen to hip hop like to me, the 2000s and the 90s always had the better hip hop music.
Oh yeah, it's a golden age.
Not in early 2010s. Well, 2010s they might have good music here and there, but not enough to using my instrumentals. I mean, there's a reason why some good songs in 2020 the music is decent. There's some good music that I actually use. There's a reason why some music I use my instrumentals and music overlayers for my shows in earlier episodes I've had before I realized, you know what, I want people to hear the interview, not the instrumental.
Yeah, I agree. But my question for you, with you being from Brooklyn, who do you have? Jay-Z or Biggie Smalls? Who's your favorite bigger Brooklyn rapper?
I would have to say Jay-Z. I mean, I didn't really listen to Notorious B.I.G. like that. I mean, and I didn't really, and honestly, I didn't really knew Notorious B.I.G. even exist I mean, I didn't really, and plus I didn't really knew he was dead up until like literally 10 years later with 106 Park would actually do like a little tribute for him and playing his old songs on old school joints, old school joint segment that they always had back in the day. So I would say Jay-Z is a more bigger influencer for me because Jay-Z is the reason why the Nets are in Brooklyn right now. Jay-Z built this together. No. There's a reason Jay-Z had like a little music, little exhibit at the Brooklyn Public Library. If you came down to New York and we're down here during the time, I mean, I even have some photos of the Jay-Z exhibit. Don't forget to check it out on my social medias. But yeah, to me, Jay-Z is bigger. He's just talented. He had more influential hip-hop music that represents New York to the fullest, and he represents Brooklyn, coming from the Marcy Projects.
Yeah, and Hov was able to live longer, but man, Biggie has only 2 albums, but 2 incredible albums. He was able to do so many great things in his time, and he was Jay-Z's big homie, big brother when it comes to the rap game. So it's just 2 guys in hip hop that I truly respect. So, I always got love for Brooklyn. I got to make it out there one time. I don't know how safe it is, but I got to shout out to my guy, Rob Parker, who's from New York, but he gave me a Biggie Smalls book that's really dope. I love, it was a great read, and just reading that made me feel like I was walking the streets of New York with him, with Fulton Street and things like that. So hopefully sometime soon I'm able to get out there and go and visit some of these spots that, these rappers talked about.
Well, the Los Angeles Sparks do play against New York Liberty a few times, so hopefully you can come to New York to at least cover the Sparks when they play against New York Liberty.
Yeah.
You would love to see it. And that's a wrap for this episode, Nothing But That Sports Talk. Thank you for stopping by, for talking all things Los Angeles sports, or in this case, mostly Los Angeles sports, because I know you cover Los Angeles sports deeply.
Yeah.
Mykell Mathieu, I appreciate you coming on the show. For Nothing But That Sports Talk, this is for Mykell Mathieu. This is Rafiq Lewis on. We'll see you next time.